Here we are shooting out at night on the streets after focus group. It's late, it's cold, and we have Jeff and Jeff here. I just did a photo shoot with the Jeffs, Jeff with his umbrella down this cool laneway, and it was looking very good. So yes, here we are. It's been a great night out tonight. We were shooting with the Z7 and the A7R3. Loving them both. G'day everybody, how you going? Well, as we know, there's a new Apple Mac Pro, and it is a mighty machine. And that got me to thinking, once I realised the price was just off the charts, and really it's a machine that I don't need. As much as I love the idea of something upgradable and modular, which is what the new Mac Pro is, I just don't need that much power. Now, in the past, I've owned, as I said in a previous video about the Mac Pro, which you can see here, I've had maybe 10 or 12 of Apple Towers, and of the Mac Pro that came in the silver aluminum boxes, I've had about 5 of them. And here is one of mine, the last one I bought, right here. This is the little beauty. My 2010 6-core Xeon 16 gig of RAM, which was a lot back then, Mac Pro. Now back then I actually, in about 2012, I did stick a Samsung SSD in there in order to make it go quicker. And at the time I started to get the iMacs with the Fusion drives, and it was just as quick. But now it's occurred to me that maybe I can make this machine here almost as good as one of the new Mac Pros for what I'm doing. Plus, I've got another problem with the Aperture. That with the next update, Aperture's going to cease to work. So maybe I can get this machine down here completely up to date as much as I can. We can do things like add USB 3. We can do things like add modern graphics cards. It's hard to believe, because this one's just got a 1 gigabyte graphics card, which again was huge at the time, but today not so much. This iMac that I have over here, it's a 2017 iMac. I've thought about getting an 8-core, the new one, but again, this might give me a lot of what I need. Probably only have to spend about $1,000 in Australia. So today I wanted to start with this. All right, so there's the VNAND SSD 970 Evo Plus. It's fast. It's very fast. It's actually faster than the bus can handle, but it's 3 gigabytes. What we're going to do today is look to see what putting this in does for hard drive speeds. And it'll make a massive difference from the original spinning disk, and I believe it'll even make a difference from the probably 5-year-old SSD I have in there at the moment. And that's the card right there, and that's the slot right there in the middle, that black thing. That's where the SSD goes. So we stick it in there, we stick it in the slot. I should have a super fast internal hard drive. Well, as things go, everything didn't go to plan. The VNAND SSD 970 EVO Plus in the PCI adapter works. I got to test it. It ran at something like 1,500 megabytes per second, but then after a little while, it would eject itself from the computer as if I had ejected it. There's some sort of problem. Now, I think it's to do with the fact that I installed it and formatted before I went to OS 10.1.3. I did it on 10.10. So sadly, that's not working. But what I have managed to achieve is to get a brand new graphics card, the Radeon RX 560. That allows me to run OS 10.1.4. That allows me to have metal, and that allows me to be completely up to date. And it was only $150. This is fantastic. So what we can see here on the screen is OS 10.14 running with the 4 gigabyte card And this is the latest operating system, and this is Aperture working on it. It's very exciting. And Aperture is running very, very smoothly. I haven't had a single crash. It's the latest version of Aperture, as you can see, and everything is going terrifically well in regards to that graphics card. Now, there are more powerful graphics cards you can get your hands on, and I may well go for one of these in the future. More power, faster. You can even perhaps put one of the Vegas, which is the new cards in the latest iMacs. This is very exciting stuff, and it could well be that I get my dream of having a new Mac Pro tower, but a Mac Pro tower that I bought almost a decade ago, running super fast. Now, there's some other guys on YouTube who are doing some great work on this front, and I might even consider upgrading the processors. I do have a USB 3 card which I'm trying to get working, and I do believe you can get even USB-C onto these machines. They're very expandable and extremely future-proof. I'm very impressed. Thanks, Apple. So what I wanted to show here is just how well Aperture is working at 4K with one of my old Aperture libraries. These are images that I took with my Nikon D800E and Nikon D4 on a beautiful foggy morning. So this is 4K native with the Mac Pro. These are 36 megapixel files, and as we can see, it's just flying through and we're getting great access. And this is just from a spinning hard drive. Ultimately, I would like to run this data internally off a 4 terabyte SSD, and if I can get the NVRAM working, I would even considering running it off the internal NVRAM, and then it would run ridiculously quickly, and this could be perhaps the best way I could keep Aperture going long into the future. Of course, the advantage of this machine is that everything in it is upgradable. Everything. Power supply, RAM, processors. I think the hardest thing that would be to replace would be the motherboard. And if you ever got in that situation, you'd still have your hard drives, you'd still have everything else, and they're very easily swappable to another computer. And I have 5 of them. Not all as new as this one, but the drives would work, and I would consider buying a second one of these machines with a motherboard just to have it on standby for when this one goes. So for solving my Aperture problem into the future, I absolutely think this is the best option, and I think I'm going to have absolutely amazing results with it. It seems to be working beautifully well with this 4K display. I'm even going to start experimenting with Final Cut Pro renders. I think I will get a faster graphics card for it. Not that I badly need it, but I'm just really interested, and the reality is, so far I think I've spent about $300. So there's a long way to go, but I can show you we are running Mojave 1014. We've got all the apps running here, the new news app. Here's Final Cut Pro working on this current video. Our 4K works totally fine in there, and Aperture, of course, compressor runs completely fine. So everything works super duper well, and I'm really, really happy with it. Anyhow, I want to end this clip by showing some images working with Jeff and Jeff. I'd like to say thank you to the Jeffs for working with me on Friday night and having a bit of fun after the focus group meeting number 5, which was fantastic in itself. We had the City of Melbourne sharing with us some of the do's and don'ts, the cans and can'ts of shooting in the city, what you need to do to make sure you're within the law and how it is you get a permit. And also drones. Drones are very interesting, what you can and can't do with drones. So that's all great stuff. So I'd like to wrap all of this up by saying I do want to continue to work with the NVM Express controller. As you can see, there it was visible, it was working at times. So we'll come back to part 2 of this film and explore what happened. I'm actually going to go to a PC friend and try and get him to reformat the NVMe M2 stick, and hopefully we can start again from scratch, because I really have no idea why it's crashing. There's not much to it, and people have been able to make it work very easily. Check out a couple of these images shot on a mix of the Nikon Z7 and the Sony A7R III, of which I'm going to have a review of those two together coming up very, very soon. Tell me, have you got a Mac
Are you running an old Mac or a new Mac? And are you running Aperture? Do you need to keep Aperture going? Is this something that's important to you? I would love to hear your Aperture stories, and I'd love to hear what you think about the idea of upgrading this old Mac Pro versus buying a new one. I know the new one's going to be faster and better, but in this country the entry-level machine will be $9,000 without a screen. As usual, thank you so much for watching. Please share, please like, and of course, if you haven't already, please subscribe. Okay, bye for now.